Hey, hey, we are live.
Hello, everyone. Hi. It's another Sunday. Thanks for joining. For those of you who are still clicking on the join button or sharing, thank you very much. Um, Today I'm coming from a strange location, sitting in my car. Just telling you that we're dedicated to do this. We have to do what we got to do to make this happen, to come out every Sunday to talk to you all. Thank you for coming. I hope you're having a great Sunday out here or out there wherever you are. Today we'll be talking about a very, very great topic: humility, the power of humility. What does that really mean? What does humility mean to you? How humble are you? And we just want to dissect this and talk about it from the definition, from the diction, from the books, and maybe your own experience, experiences of how we handle that, how we try to be humble, and how humility affects our daily life, what benefits or disadvantages we get from either being humble or not. So Solange, I understand you're sharing right now. Are you done? Did you share the video already? Can you confirm?
Yes, and thanks to those of you who have joined. We appreciate your time. Happy Sunday again, again. The House of Chair Girls are always honored to have you spend some time and come watch, right? Listen to us, share your thoughts, and we are grateful for the time you spend with us. So, as I said, today we want to talk about humility. And humility, if we before we go talking about what we think or how, like, defining it based on our experiences, let's see what Webster says about humility. So Webster's dictionary defines humility as freedom from pride or arrogance, right? So freedom from pride or arrogance, that is clear enough. That is like, okay, humility is where there is no pride and where there is no arrogance. And if you look at the description of this video, it asks you the question. Let's talk about what being humble can do for you and what it can take away from you. So we want to be able to look at humility in both sides. Like, hey, being humble, what can this do for me? And please, if you just joined us, kindly share the video so that we can reach a greater audience, and like, comment, let us know you're watching us because we love to interact with you when you're here. So let us know when you join. Say hi to us. Let us know where you're watching us from, just so that we can interact with you more. And please do not hesitate to share your thoughts, what you're thinking. So again, we're talking about humility. One of the most important things, and when we talk about humility, I want to talk, I think it's important. Thank you, DJ. I think this is one of the first times we've had DJ watch us live. Thanks, DJ. We see you. Thanks for joining. Yes. Yeah. So we are talking about humility here. And to me, when I think of humility, I'm thinking of the places that I've been to, the places I've been opportune to maybe enter, the people I've been opportune to get insights from them because I humbled myself, right? I'm not all good. There are also times and places where I think I lost something because I was not humble enough, or because I let my ego creep in and take over me. And truth be told, most of the times I realize that, hey, you could have done differently. So today we are going to be looking at what humility is in our everyday life. We're trying not to make this very theoretical. We want this to be very real, right? As real people living everyday life. That's how we want it to be today. So please join us and share your thoughts. Ice, in that case, like putting you here again, it's what I love to do, put you on the spot and have you spit it out, right? What would you say, if can you give us an instance or an experience of yours that maybe, not maybe, that you're so sure that came through or came across because you were humble, because you choose to put a damn cloth on your ego and say, hey, move away. It's time for me to be humble and get this thing. Can you think of any of such instances that you can tell us about on the show today?
Of course. Hello, everyone. For all those who are just joining, like disclaimer, you see me looking opposite direction. I'm just sitting in a parking lot right now. So if you see me looking at left and right, I'm just making sure nobody hits me. So that's just a disclaimer. My attention is full, and I'm right here with you all. So there is this common saying that you hear around: America will humble you. Have you heard that before? Have you heard that before?
America
America,
will humble you.
America will humble you. But I think just being coming into this country or traveling out of Cameroon, it's humbling. It's humbling of how you have to go back to the drawing board and start all over most of the time. So for me, it's this just a very I've had experiences where I've been humbled by situations, but I want to say America coming to this country and starting all over. So, being a salesperson in a shop or a cashier, working as a cleaner, as a student in Germany, and coming to America and just starting doing the survival jobs to be able to take the next step. For me, that's humbling because I know sometimes it's situational, but I've still seen situations where people feel like I have a master's degree, I can't do that job, right? No, for me, it's traveling out of the country. That was enough because being back in Cameroon, kudos to all the janitors out there. I would never have thought that, hey, I'll be fighting to get a job to be a cleaner at a trade fair at Deutsche Messe, right? Or hustling for a job, hustling
Ab-
for a for a put thin job, right? So that was humbling for me, and it just gave me a kind of realization that you have to do whatever it takes that is legal to get to where you want to be. So for me, traveling out of the country was my super fast experience that affected my entire life. I had to like take a 360-degree turn.
Turn.
And like, hey, you got to do this. So for me, it's traveling out of the country.
Yeah, again, thanks for sharing that. I think that that is a really common one. I think we both share that same experience of what leaving Cameroon and going to Germany, then to the US has done, like realizing that, hey, um, maybe going to other levels, but I know that there are things that like being serving today and there are some jobs I did as survival jobs that, of course, there are things that I could will still do in Cameroon, right? But of course, one of the ones that for sure I could guarantee that I'm not sure that I would have ever ended up in Cameroon being a cleaner, right? Because I don't know. I bet that the cleaners in Cameroon are getting paid the way they're getting paid, and probably people make a living out of that. But that is the kind of job that I did not even think of while living in Cameroon, right? Until I traveled out of Cameroon and I said, oh, whoa, this thing is actually a breadwinning job. It is a source of income to survive the family on. So, yes, that was definitely very humbling. And in situations like that, that have all contributed into growing and being whatever or wherever we are today in life. It's just accepting in life that, yes, sometimes you have to return to the drawing board. Would I tell you that it is an easy decision to make? No. Would I tell you that your ego creeps in through a window? No. Your ego creeps in through a wide open door, right? The ego just comes in like, hey, you're too much for this. It's a very good example for myself. When I came to the US, I had abandoned almost a 2 year old PhD program, right? I came from being an assistant lecturer helping my lecturers at the University of Cologne do stuff, lecture, and talking to people too. Well, one of the first job I got here was to serving food in a restaurant. Truly, it was humbling, right? It's like, hey, the ego, like the truth. One thing I just want people to understand is that talking about this does not make us better people, right? It doesn't mean that we have not have those instances where pride creeps in or arrogance creeps in. As any other human being, we have those, we've had, and we still continue to have those instances. But what do you do when something like that happens? What did I do when I realized that, hey, all that big name, masters of this, PhD, that is not going to put food on my table? What did I do? When that ego came in to say, hey, Solange, you're too much now. Come on. People know that you are doing a PhD. You want can't start to be put frown now. So all things like that, the ego was there singing it out in my ears. But what helped me was humility. So humility came in to say, you know what? That might be what is, but what matters is what now. Get back to your drawing board and start again.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, I agree with you with that whole concept of traveling out, and our experiences when we moved out of Cameroon have really been super humbling, right? Like
Yeah.
a very good example. And if you listen to, well, I was just reading something this morning, and a ton of people think that our dear friend Warren Buffett is a very humble man. And I was trying to find out, I did a little bit of research, like why do people think that Warren Buffett is humble? And I stumbled upon a statement, upon a short video that he made many years ago. And in that video, he said, if someone else or if anybody else can do something better than he can do it, he lets them do it. It doesn't matter because he's Warren Buffett, he's going to want to do it all. Yes, he's this great rich man, the kind of person that will tell you about wealth management and all of that, how to make the money. But the moment he realizes that he cannot be talking about this and managing his portfolio, he outsources those things. And that is one of the statements that he has made that makes people find him so much of a humble person. And it was intriguing, right? Again, he's someone that I listen to once now and again, but I wanted to find out why people, a lot of times I've stumbled upon videos and they described him as a humble man. And basically, it was this is one of the statements giving people who can do something better than you an opportunity to do it,
Yeah.
right? So that is one that I come across. So thank you so much to those who have joined us. We appreciate you. Give pump us some hearts, share the video with your loved ones. Let us know you're watching with us and share your thoughts. What are your thoughts about humility? What are some of the experiences you've had, either that you got humbled or instances where know that your humility, you being humble, helped you. And maybe why not instances where you lost something because you know for sure that you were not humble. We like to hear some of those stories from you. So please add in the comments. Yes, Ice.
What was your question?
So I was asking you, like again, you talked about traveling out. What other insight about? Okay, let's talk about the job world, right? Humility and the job world. Um, I don't want to get very personal with this, but it's something that I know is very common. A lot of us are kind of getting into it. We are traveling out of the country, or even while in Cameroon, we are getting, or in different parts of the world, right? We are getting opportunities. We are realizing that we do not necessarily need to become what we wanted to become when we were babies, when we were younger, or that what we studied in school doesn't necessarily have to be what we do today. And where am I leading this to? This takes us now back to the fact that you find yourself in a position where you have to switch careers, right? When you switch careers as an adult, I bet you that one of the main things that will make you grow is humility.
Yeah.
You're going to have to talk to those people who have been doing this thing. You're going to have to listen to these people. Because no matter what, no matter your age, right? No matter where you come from, that person who has been doing that thing you want to do now is your best friend. So if you don't humble yourself, I bet you 95% of the time you will fail.
That's true.
So I wanted you guys to kind of jump in and talk about what you think. Okay, if you're talking to someone, we are all people who have switched our careers from what we did in college and university and all of that today, right? If you were to talk to someone about how they could use humility as a tool to excel in a new venture, what would you tell them?
Oh man, I feel like the answer is in the question. Like how to use humility to succeed is by being humble, right? So it's about knowing what you don't know
Mhm.
and being ready to learn. And humility for me, when it comes to career and all that, on how to succeed in a situation when you either you're upskilling or you're reskilling, it's about being a student for life. And
Yeah.
if you've accepted or you call yourself like I'm a student for life, I'm a student, you always have to learn from somebody. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many videos you watch, you still need hands on. You still need somebody with an experience to tell you a story that you can relate with. So for me,
Mhm.
it's about reaching out to those people that have gotten their hands dirty in that field and
Mhm.
being humble enough to like ask those questions that feel like you're dumb. Sometimes you have to act dumb to learn because I act like I don't even know what you're talking about. Describe it. Like somebody who like it's very common about in meetings right now, and you can attest to this where somebody will make a statement and you hear another person repeat it. If I'm hearing what you're saying is this, just to ensure that they are understanding what that person is trying to the message the person is trying to send out. That is something that I've noticed in a lot of meetings, and people use that phrase in a very technical or tricky way right now. If I don't understand, say you're reskilling and you're getting into something like tech or medicine or nursing, right? Let's use nursing, and they come up with a word that or a process that you're not familiar with, and so you're in a meeting and somebody so that phrase or that word comes up. I'll be like, if I understand what you're saying, I'm not sure what you're saying. You have to be technical as well to learn. Sometimes you have to
Mhm.
act dumb. Sometimes you have to act technical in a very like, hey, I'm not sure what you're saying. Can you explain that more? Right? So the main thing I'm trying to send out here is you have to be ready to learn from the people who know better. There will
Yep.
always be somebody out there that knows better than you do. When you have that mindset, you're going to grow. Because I know there are people who think, oh, because I'm book smart, I know it all. Hell no. You can still go out there, pass all those certifications, pass or get the degrees, and come out here in the field and you fail woefully because you don't know how to handle real life problems. And
Yep.
that's what we solve a job. We solve real life problems. Businesses, that's what they do. They try to handle real life problems. If you want to succeed as a business person, look for a problem and solve. That's what they say, right? If you want to grow, look for a problem and solve. So you have to talk to the people who are experienced in order to grow. You can't just step into the field like, hey, I know it all. No, you're gonna fail. That's fact. You're going to fail, and it's okay to
Yes.
fail, but you're gonna fail.
No, but when you fail, you want to fail and learn, right? Again, just
Yeah,
as the same thing we say, we fail forward. Don't just fail by
fail
falling
back.
down that
Yeah,
you fail. Yeah, when you fail, you want to fail forward. So learn,
yeah,
get the lesson, right, and move on. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Rose, for joining. We appreciate you. Hi, thank you for joining us. And again, if you've joined us, thanks for joining us. Please share the video and pump us some hearts. And again, if you send stars on Facebook, we love them stars. Do send us some of those stars as well. Yes, Ice, thank you so much for bringing up your so sharing your insights on that. Looking at this again, sometimes I try not to talk only about my path, because remember, the goal here is for us to share our stories, right? This is us talking, but at the same time there were things that we know that I want to be able to bring in sometimes. For example, I
Yeah.
will not say I've run a business before. I will not say that I have been a successful business person before, because I've not really done any kind of business out here. But for example, you are interested in running a business, you want to start a business, you want to engage in a specific kind of business. There are people out here who are doing this thing. And one of the things we preach on this show is to please get rid of scarcity. Finish it, eyes.
Mentality.
Yes.
Mentality.
Thank you. We want to get rid of that scarcity mentality. There is no scarcity. You and I can do the same thing and still be successful. You and I can be Salesforce consultants for the same company, and you will not lose a dime from your paycheck. One of our biggest goals on this show is to get rid of that scarcity mentality in our community. And we hope that our message is getting through. For example, you want to start a business. You have seen that, hey, this can be a good business route. We want to do this. It just makes sense that you look around for those people, you talk to those people who are doing this thing, listen to them. And I always say, going to talk to someone seeking help doesn't necessarily mean that whatever those people are saying is the law. Listen to them and do some
Yeah.
sifting, right?
Yeah.
Get what you need from them and move on. But never forget to appreciate somebody's time that they have spent to give you any kind of knowledge transfer from a specific
Yeah.
business. Appreciate those people because they could still say no and you'll do nothing to them. Where does humility come in here? You, as a newbie in whatever walk of life you are in, it is your place to swallow your pride. Some people will say, hey, I'd go talk to that petit frère. I know that petit frère for school, no, that petit frère they hang around now, ma. Like those are common things that we hear, that I hear in the Cameroonian community, and I bet that it's not very different from other communities out here. You'll say things like, oh, maybe that, oh, come up here, that petit frère, this way, pana wine tapa for that, things like that. That girl, way, mommy, is self-fullery. But that girl is in a place where they can help you. That is what we call empty pride. If you cannot swallow your pride and go to these people that are where you want to be, I bet you that you will struggle. And this is the same reason why a lot of people are struggling in life. It's not because they are not doing the right things. It's because they are not consulting with the right people. It's because they have let their ego creep in and take over their humility, where you can just walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm interested. This is thing you're doing. I'm interested in doing the same kind of thing. And what will you, is there any information you would like to share with me? Sometimes you don't have to go through the same mistakes that other people have gone through. Even though those mistakes might be learning, how do you call it? Might be learning experiences, but you can avoid some of those mistakes by talking to the people who are already there. So
I have,
again,
I have, let me tell you something about what you're saying. So when I started photography and people started seeing me with a camera, it was kind of a double, I don't know, everybody. I knew the photographers that were in town in the DMV area, and I knew the people I could ask help from, which I did. Like, I think I've spoken to almost all photographers in town in Maryland. I'm like, hey, I'm a photographer. Like, I always like, I'm also a photographer. But one thing that happens is people always say, everybody wants to teach me something. And I don't know if it's because I always try to filter it, because anybody that has handled a camera thinks they can teach me something about a camera. Either, and I know about, sometimes I get a feel that because I'm a woman, which is another whole area on its own,
sorry.
right? But what I have learned is I listen to all of them and I filter the trash from the real thing. I filter the trash, the sand from the gold. I know the gold in town, and I reach out to those people. And sometimes you see people come down to my post on Facebook or Instagram and try to teach me there. But I know the real people slide into my DM and say, "Ice, this is great. Next time, do this. Try this out. It might be better because it worked for me." So I'm just humble with everybody. Somebody told me last night, "I'll teach you something about photography." I'm like, okay. Yesterday I was at an event. I'm like, I'm also a photographer. I'll teach you. I'm like, okay, this is my number. Call me. Be humble to listen to those. Even sometimes it's important to have the sand mixed with your gold. Guess what that happens? When sand mixed, it helps to brush your gold to be better. It
To
washes,
make it
it makes,
shiny.
it shines, yeah, it shines off it cleans the dirt away from the gold. So sometimes the sand is important. Listen to those, but also be careful on how much time you give into that. But try to listen to them. So I have that coming. I'm just humble that I take that in, but I know the extent in which I know where to stop. Let me put it that way. I know where to stop.
Great. Thank you so much. I see Divine in the comment section, and he says, throw in some. Oh, thank you, Divine, for joining. First of all, we appreciate your time. And he says, throw in some needed arrogance in your humble self every now and then. It is needed. I will not say no to that. I'm one person that will say, I agree with you, right? Because I have done that. I tend to do that sometimes. There are times that if you listen to my podcast, you will hear me say things like, hey, I am no longer just a Salesforce consultant. I am a certified application architect, right? Again, because I know what I put into it, right? So I see where you're coming from. I see that I do what you're saying there. Is it the right thing to do? Yes, it's needed. Sometimes I will agree, but is it something that I'll advise other people to do? If you know what you're doing, yes. But if you are an empty vessel and you want to throw in that arrogance, and you don't throw arrogance on a pride-filled self, right? If you throw a little bit of arrogance, spice it up like, hey, I am this, a little show off. I do a little bit of show off sometimes, and I will tell my sisters, I'm like, hey, I show up sometimes because I believe that my show up will inspire someone, right? But it doesn't, I try to make sure that showing up doesn't take away my humility, my acceptance that, yes, I might know this thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm the best in the world. You get it? Yes, I were going to interrupt me somewhere.
Yeah. Because like what the divine, you said divine, right? I can't see the comment.
Yeah.
So what divine just said, I experienced it this weekend where I was covering an event and doing my job, and this person had the mic, and he kept mentioning, oh, right now we have photographers. He mentioned it. For me, it's good. Sometimes I'm arrogant when I feel like I'm being insulted, when I feel like I'm being insulted. So I went up to his face and I'm like, stop being sexist. That got to stop right now. I told him that yesterday. You can, what does it matter? What does it matter if there is, oh, now, right now we have female photographers? I'm not being petty here. I'm just saying, I'm just bringing out an instance where I had to walk up and say, I'm good enough to be a photographer, so stop being sexist.
Yeah,
So
whether female or
those
not.
in situations like that, you have to bring out that arrogance, peel in that arrogance, and make people respect you and your art and the work you put in to be where you are.
I agree. If Divine, you made I share something that I probably was not going to get it out of her today. So thank you for commenting. We appreciate you for that. On the other side of it, right, we've spoken about the business side of it, like hey, talking to people who are probably in that field already. Another very common example that I will bring up and eyes to thinking of what you want to talk about on this side is us, right? Coming out here, upskill. I would never talk about things like this without mentioning reskilling or upskilling because it is what I just wish that a lot more people could do, right? We have upskilled, we have reskilled, we have learned tons of things. We've become Salesforce consultants, architects, AWS solution architects, Scrum Masters, DBAs, name all the Azure engineers, name all of those things. We've become all of these things. We have put in the time, we have studied, we have done the certifications. And again, if you listen to my last episode with Ate Roches, who is a serverless developer, he talked about how doing these things, learning them, reading the books, getting the certifications, those things are good. But one of the most important things is the hands on, building projects, solving real life problems, just as you said, Ice, earlier on. And this comes as a challenge. We do all of these things, right? We get our resumes out there. Sometimes we find the need to architect or to re-architect our resumes to fit the jobs we are applying for. That is okay. That is very much okay. I look at it and I always encourage mentees when I talk to people, I encourage you like, hey, get your resume, use what you've been doing, make it into a transferable skill, put it in the resume. If what you did, for example, if I were to write a resume for myself for maybe a business role somewhere, I could use my example of me selling my salad in those days in Boya, right? That was me running my own salad business. I went to the market to buy my products. I knew what I needed to get a bowl of salad completed and put out in the market, and I knew how much I was making from a bowl of salad. That is a whole business cycle, right?
Yes.
And I could use that and use that as a transferable skill for a resume that I wanted to get a role in. And so when we talk of architecting our resumes and doing it is very much okay. I don't have a problem with that. Just do it with things that you know you can back. If somebody were to pick up your resume and say, oh, you said you did this, be ready to back it up. So long as you can back it up, do whatever you want to do with those resumes. I don't care. We do all of these things, we get the jobs. Being able to go through an interview and get a job, you might get some help, you might go through it and you get a job. One of the most difficult things is keeping that job because I was challenged when I got my first Salesforce job. I was super challenged. I had been doing Salesforce for a year and 3 months before I actually had the experience, had the opportunity to be live, to solve a real problem, right? Was that something that was easy for me? No. I ran for help. And the person I always go on to help with, somebody that I knew just a few weeks ago before I even started my job. I was like, hey, you know what? I know that I have done this thing on Trailhead. I know that I came across this, that this is a real situation. I'm being challenged here. Help me. What can I do? And that one time that this my guy, I call him, he's my Salesforce buddy. That one time that the moment he guides me and says, hey, you do this, it never skipped my mind because that is hands on. That was me in a real life situation. Why am I bringing this up? I have mentored a couple of people who have gotten Salesforce jobs, right? But not all of them have been able to keep the jobs. And I've had instances, very disappointing, of people who got a job and that was it. I never heard from them again. Like never. And I asked myself, how are these people surviving? I know that it was hard for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be hard for other people, but where are they? Some of them lose the job after 3 months. They're like, oh, they don't have the job anymore. Where did that job go to? Just because you could not, it takes just a little humility to come back and say, hey, Solange, I got this job and I'm doing this thing, but you know what? I'm having a problem. I've been asked to write a validation rule and I don't know, it's not coming along. Can you help me? It is that simple. It, it, Ice, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm getting very
So,
emotional.
so I totally get what you're saying, and just to start from where you let's just start from where you started. I'm talking about your cycle, the salad cycle business, and the business cycle you ran in Boya. I read an article last week, and the reason why Africa, African businesses are failing and African education is not meeting the standard is because we have people who read books to come teach us businesses. Imagine Dangote teaching a business class. That is a master class. That is what we do. You can't take somebody who has never run any business, nothing, and put them in front of a classroom to teach business. They don't know the hell what they're talking about. I don't care
Theories.
what it's all up. I don't care the theory they use. No. I had a general taught me while I was doing my MBA, supply chain. A retired German military general. That guy brought supply chain to a level where I saw my mom doing this all the time to a certain extent because he knew what he was talking about and he brought it down to a level where everybody could understand what he was saying. There is no academic or academia, as you say, that will teach you as good as somebody that has done that task before.
Yes.
So I just wanted to put that out there. Like we have, as first of all, Africa needs to start using these business people as their lecturers. Just polish them a little bit and put them in classrooms. They're gonna make great business people, or in any other field that you're talking about. Now, to come back to your point of being humble and asking questions after you've gotten a job, for me, there are two sides of it. So one is excitement, and one is that pride thing. I don't want this girl to know that I am dumb not to know this. And if you know, I always tell you that the worst thing I hate to hear is when somebody says she doesn't know anything, or he or she doesn't know anything. Yes, I don't know anything when it comes to like Salesforce. I don't know anything. So it's okay not to know in that field, but you know so many things about so many other things, right? So it's okay. So that's that feeling where in our community, if I don't know anything, there's like, oh, she's dumb. Not even in our community, in general, in life. If I don't
Generally.
know something and I come and ask you one or two times, either if I'm asking you more than two times, either you're a bad teacher or I just have, or is this theory or this concept is just too good, too new for me to comprehend. So I need to take some time to be able to digest, to like dissect it and understand it better. So that's one thing that we don't encourage. If I don't know, I don't know. It's simple. Like I told a young lady the other day, there is something that I'm trying to get like full hands-on on. She doesn't know, I don't know. I told her, you know what? Let's work together. Let's put in an hour or 2 hours every week and try it out and fail together and keep. If we don't know, we'll go to the next person and ask. Right? I've never seen this girl. Somebody just connected her to me, and I'm like, let's work together. Yes, let's feel dumb together. But remember, 6 months from now, we might be experts.
Yeah, you'll not be the
The
same.
moment you accept that you don't know, it's preparing yourself and being ready to learn is preparing yourself to be an expert in that field. You have to. I don't remember the number, but they say if you want to be an expert, there is a huge amount of hours that you have to put in for that particular concept, in that particular concept or subject in order to become an expert. You can never just get up from sleep and be an expert. Never. There are
DJ
some
Wakanda.
comments.
Yeah, DJ said DJ Wakanda forever watching. That is a house of chair boy. Thank you so much, DJ, for
Yes.
joining. Thank you. And we hope that we inspire you to talk to some great business people that own businesses like Wakanda and get some insights from them on how
Yeah.
you can make your business better and also be willing to share with other upcoming people in your around you who are probably trying to reach the level of Wakanda so that again
Yeah.
they can learn from you the same way you want to be humble enough to learn from the people that have gone past where Wakanda is today. So kudos to you, Big Bro. Thanks for joining and for staying on. Yes,
Yeah.
Ice. So again, it still just boils down to that ability to ask, right? To seek help, to be humble enough to ask. questions to seek help. Because if the person I call my Salesforce buddy, less than how many days ago, I was doing something at work and I got stuck. And I called him and I'm like, hey, this thing is not working. This is a validation rule. These are things that I write on a daily. But this particular one, with the requirement that the client has given, it's hard. I'm not getting through. If by doing that, he thinks that I am dumb, then that is his business. I don't look at myself like that. So you don't want to let things like that not stop you from seeking help, right?
Yeah.
Especially my dear young Cameroonian professionals who are getting into the IT world. Please ask for help. Don't just get the
Yes.
excitement of the plenty money. Maybe you came like me, you moved from 25,000 to 80,000, and you're like, wow. If you are not careful, you're gonna lose that job. Those people who give you the jobs, they are watching you. They are watching you behind your back. If you have a problem, instead of just being all prideful and swelling in pride, just ask the next person that is a scrum master or that is a Salesforce admin or is an AWS engineer or an Azure. Just there are people like that. Just ask. Say, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing at work today, and I'm a bit challenged. Can you please help me? It doesn't make you dumb. Please swallow that pride. The more humble you are, the longer you'll be able to keep your job. And when you are able to keep your job for 6 months to 1 year, you now get into the
Uh-huh.
shoes of that. You can now help other people as they come in.
The people, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, let's build the community. We cannot come out here and we are getting into this world. And again, this is not only about tech. Again, it just happens that I tend to default more to tech because that was my real skill. That is what I'm mostly exposed to today. But this can apply to any walk of life, be it in the design world, right? Be it in the business world, somebody that owns a business. Maybe you're making wigs, maybe you're designing clothes, right? There are people who've been doing things like this. Just be humble enough to ask for help, right? And so I'm going to drop that skill part of it there because that's something that I can talk about for the whole 2 hours and I'll never stop. But I hope that the message
Yeah.
goes through. But Ice, again, I'm going to put out something and I would like for you to give your thoughts. Again, we'll be rounding up soon. One thing for sure
Yeah.
that I want to comment on is the fact that as we grow in life, right, things happen. Different things happen as we age. Our statuses change, right? We tend to, our health, it could be our health, we have gotten better. We've probably gotten more money. Our status has become an upgrade. I don't know, it could be from anything to anything, but it's been upgraded. One thing that happens slowly and surely is the creeping in of ego. The more money you start making, the better the title they call you at work, the more profit you make from your business. As you see yourself getting better, as you see yourself succeeding in life, one thing that always happens is that ego comes in. Right? We cannot fight it. Or we not that we cannot fight it, we cannot stop it from coming. It's always going to come. But what is important is how you tackle it. And I putting you on the spot again, how will you say is the best way for us to crush this ego that keeps creeping in the moment we start getting better in life, the moment we start succeeding, that ego that makes us want to be all filled with arrogance and pride? What would you say? What do you think is an ideal way to just get rid of this ego? What's your first thought?
Um, sincerely, the first thing that came to mind for me was how, first of all, like when you were saying, it was like how you were brought up. It's very important how you were brought up. And I have this thing that I always say, I don't know if it's funny or arrogant. I always say, people that really change, it's people that their success surprised them. Their dreams were not big enough, that they got surprised when reality happened and and this big thing just happened in front of them, like, whoa, right? But then if I tell you I know how to handle it, I'm lying. Then I don't really know. But what I do personally, I can tell you what I do. I always look at my community, my story, where I came from, how I started, how far I have, how far I want to go. And I ask myself questions like, do you think this action is going to help you get to the next level or not? So I question myself. That's what I do. I question myself. Again, maybe because I'm religious, I pray. Maybe because I'm spiritual, I meditate. Right. So it's these two things. Or you hear me talk about religious and spiritual, for me, there are two things. So I have a lot of personal things that I intentionally do in order to keep that. And sometimes I also want to, there's another side of it. Sometimes people are not arrogant, they are just carried away by the reality of what is happening around them.
Will you say
Like
it's
you and I,
ignorance?
it's not ignorance. I was about to give an example. Remember, like 3 months back, we used to talk at least 2 times a week, correct? We used to have these group calls, but lately we talk at least once a week and maybe on a Saturday, right? We're
That's
all
right.
getting busy. We're all getting busy. Like there's a lot that we are doing personally. I can say I'm really, really busy, and you know why I'm busy? And because you know it's okay. But for the person that does not know, they'll feel like, oh, it's because she's this now. That's why she does not have our time. So another thing is sometimes people are not. They are just busy, and we don't take the time to ask like, hey, are you okay? What's happening with you? Why are you not calling me? Like, what's happening? They just feel like it's pride. So sometimes we also get out of our things just get into our heads and we start thinking. Meanwhile, people are going through real time problems or
Challenges.
struggles or challenges that they're trying to handle. So for me, it's about just grounding, being grounded, and asking yourself questions and knowing what you want, knowing your story. How will my community feel about this? How will the people that look at or they look up to me feel about this? How are the people who've supported me this far are gonna question yourself? Where do I want to be in the next 5 years? What actions do I need to take in order to get there? So I question myself. But to tell you I have an answer that is going to work for you, I don't. I do not. You
Yeah.
might try to
Again, I don't
copy
expect you
what
to
I
give
do.
me. I don't
Yeah.
expect you to give a set on stone answer, right? Again, I expected you to like share your thoughts on that. And again, one thing that would definitely seek maybe probably advice on is like, hey, when you start succeeding more, when you start creating more, and you start doing more, right? It's normal for ego to come in. But and what does that ego come to do? That ego comes to say, hey, you know what? You are the most important person here, man. I am DJ said she did not answer the question. That ego comes here to tell you that,
I don't
that
know the
ego
answer.
the ego comes in to tell you that, hey, you know what? You are the most important person out here. You know, you are the most, that is what ego, and that is where people start becoming arrogant. Like you see, when all the IT work, you see people have different opinions about it. People who make 100K, people who go around and hang that these are my 100K. How do you know my 6 figure? These are my 6 figure friends, right? Those are the kind of things that their ego like kind of pushes them. It tells them that, hey, you know what? You are now in the 6 figure gang, man. Come on, do you? That is your ego. But to me, one of the best answer to that question is humility. That was what I was hoping that you were going to say. But as you said, as your brother says, you did not know the answer. So we tell the answer to that question is humility.
God help.
Humility will help you get out of those kinds of situations. And that will lead me into bringing in our last banner up for tonight, which is how do I constantly remind myself to be humble, right? And let me take a question first. Will the Colon says, also, I think the moment we start having the mentality that there is enough for everyone and also open up and help others so they succeed, maybe people will be more open to reaching out for help. Yes, and personally, I'll get this is one of those times where I will rub a little bit of arrogance in, just as Divine said earlier on, because personally, responding to what Wilson Colon just said, this is something that I've personally come on Facebook and made live videos like, hey, you know what? I think I know some Salesforce. If you're interested in Salesforce, right, and you get a sales, come to me, talk to me. I have put myself out there, right, willing to help without judgment, because the people who helped me did not judge me. So that is why, again, I hope that more and more people are able to do things. I know at one point when I did this, I thought that it was going to overwhelm me. I thought that I'll wake up the next morning with 100 messages on my phone, but in your dreams, no. A few people reached out, but it was not overflowing like I thought. So again, I was scared that I might not be able to handle it. But everybody that has reached out to me about their concern, their interest in Salesforce, at least I'm gladly saying that I've helped each and every one of them. So yes, and who's the color is some people become arrogant because sometimes they are taken advantage of. It can be a barrier. Yes, that is true. So this still boils down to the whole Chami Divine's statement on sometimes you want to rub in a bit of arrogance because you think that people are not like they are
Yeah.
putting it's a barrier, right? They look at it that way. So I definitely agree with that. And so, how do we constantly remind ourselves to be humble? So, after talking about this, eyes and whatever the question, and maybe sharing our thoughts and ideas, do you have anything to say on that before I give my part? Then you close the show.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. My previous response was like towards this mostly. It's about being keeping yourself grounded,
Yes.
asking yourself questions. Those questions that you ask yourself and looking at your journey from where you came from and where you want to go to. Those questions are very important. So it's about
Yeah.
just being grounded with yourself, like asking yourself those questions. And really, they say the most, I don't know. I heard something that if you wanna be humble, um, try to give help to people who don't know enough of what you know very often, because when they push you so hard, you're gonna know if you really want to give that out. So
They'll
just try
tease
to
you.
do that, send that out. Yeah, they'll tease you, and the pressure will come onto you, and you'll be like, do I really want to do this? And but as I said, just try to keep yourself, stay grounded, and ask yourself some real questions.
Yep, I agree. Again, staying grounded, just as you say, and going back to where you come from. Or just, you don't even have to go that far, right? Just look at it the way it is now. For example, this is you and I on a live show. And hey, before I forget the end of this show, happy birthday to Ice. This weekend was Ice's birthday. And you can see
Thank you.
she's, she's on the live show today in her car, probably because she was out having some fun with her colleagues and friends. And I was like, hey, we have a show. And she's like, oops, I'm going to come for that one. So we appreciate you, Ice, of course, for making out the time, putting your friends on the hold to come have this show. That is what dedication means. And we
Yeah,
appreciate you so much for that. Thank you for doing that. I pray I did not
it's a
forget to
pleasure.
do this. Thank you. And so again, it does.
Keep
Oh, please
mentioning it.
stop. Please stop. So
Continue,
this,
please. That was a joke.
so so how do I constantly remind myself to be humble? Is being aware of the things around me, right? Is being aware of, for example, now this is I could have come on here and been alone, right? But if you had said, hey, you know what, Solange, I have lunch with my friends. I'm not making it, right? Just being aware and being grateful, like having that gratitude that, hey, even though I had other things to do, she did not leave me on the show alone. She still created time to come, right? Being grateful for the things around you. If you're about to eat now, right? Just thinking about how that food came along, the people on the farms, on the fields, that work on the farm to get those spices, to get that food that you're eating now. Apart from just being grateful for the food, but just the fact that somebody put in some effort for you to be able to eat that plate of food you're eating now, right? Somebody put in that effort for you to be able to drive that car you're driving now. When you think about those things and you think about the role that other people are playing in the things that are happening in your life now, it is going to humble you, right? It's going to remind you that, you know what? I really cannot do all of these things alone. You cannot go out to the farm and work the potato and work the oregano or the thyme. You cannot do all of that by yourself. Other people are doing those things and you are benefiting from it. Yes, you get to pay for it, but just acknowledging that you cannot do this alone and other people are doing it, I believe that it helps you to just step into that shoe of humility. It reminds you that, you know what, I got to be humble. I got to be show gratitude and be humble. So to me, that is how I will look at this. And it is a constant struggle for all of us. It is for me. And talking about it doesn't mean that I am good. No. Talking about it just means that I am aware and it's a constant fight and sharing with you and just to bring that awareness out to you as well. So I go ahead and close the show. Except you have
Well,
something
thank
else
you
to
very
share.
much. No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And I always say we don't take your likes, your shares, the stars. I don't know if any came in today and
Did we get any
pat
stars
your
today
pumping
now?
for granted. And I just want to end the show with this that I read somewhere this morning. I was like, this is kind of true. If you want to succeed in life, who you choose to love, where you choose to live, and what you choose to do, those three are super important. Think about them and make your choices right. Have a blessed Sunday. God bless you all. We love you and we thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you all so much. Thanks to all of you who joined and have been with us live throughout. For those of you who will be watching, we appreciate you. Do not hesitate to leave your comments. Do not hesitate to send out some of those stars. You can still send stars after the show is over. Let us know your thoughts. And if you're thinking of what any ideas of what we can have the show on, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Next week, I see if I'm not wrong, we plan to talk about peer pressure and how peer pressure is affecting us as we get older. So we hope to see you same time next week. Thank you so much, DJ, for joining. We appreciate you for staying up this late to be
Thank
with
you,
us.
DJ.
We appreciate you. And thanks, Divine, for commenting. Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Wills Colon. We appreciate you all, and we will see you next week. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.
Bye.